I have the high ground. Yes, I do have an Obi-Wan Kenobi skin. Let me just turn back on my HUD so that way I can see where I'm going, and then I will start the tour of the build. Yes, I'm a couple hundred blocks up. That way when I come down it looks a bit nicer. Alright, so here is the stadium. I'll start over here with my scoreboard. The blue team, whose bench is on the wrong side, I just realized that, oops. Blue team is the attacking team, so they'd be your characters like Buck, Monty, and IQ. We'll use those three as an example, as well as Thermite. And then your defensive team, which is the orange team, also has 0 points because it's a tie game, and ignore the fact that the zeros are different thicknesses. I built the left one, my friend built the right one. They have people like Mozzie, Doc, Frost, and Pulse. And then coming over to the stadium, the actual seating didn't take me that long to do. It's like 40 something blocks long, 7 rows high of seats, so that way you can have someone, let's say, sitting in the front row, being able to watch the battle happening, because there'd be more than just the one jumbotron spread around the stadium, so you got inside views. This was probably the hardest part for me to build, which was this track, because it's hard to build a curve in Minecraft. The first row of the track was pretty easy because it was just basic, and then every row I put outside caused more and more stress. I think that the track, the wall, and the grass inside, which is not grass blocks, it is lime and green terracotta, which is like a clay, took me about 4.5 hours. And then coming over to here, this is the director Harry's office with 2 different elevators. So this one is an up elevator. It shoots you up. And then inside his office, you know, he's got his computer that he can do his research at on his nice chair. You jump over here, and he can watch out the window. And then the second water hole, the elevator, drags you down. And then getting into the actual stadium build, this is a smaller version of last year's stadium, because the day I'm recording this, which is Thursday the 21st, they drop a new stadium in half an hour. Dropping a new stadium at 1 o'clock. So this is just a smaller one. It only has some of the cooler details, like you've got this little awning that leads to nowhere with a barricaded window. So the attacking team, let me just get my blocks, would smash through here. They'd break the whole barricade, and then they'd just jump right through. Like that. Now, I'm just gonna rebuild my window. I'll put my barricade in later. And then, coming back around this way, you have a barricaded door with a giant barricaded window, which looks more like it because of the giant X. And then, up here is a staircase that's not complete and leads to nowhere, since in last year's animated trailer for the 6th Invitational of 2020, Pulse, one of the characters in our thing, dropped a nitro cell down a hallway, down the staircase, causing it to explode. And then there's just a couple like different spawn locations for the attackers. Like the attackers could spawn behind this wall, that wall, or they could spawn up top here and breach through this yellow wall. And then you got down here a giant dark room with a wandering trader in it for some reason. That's pretty much all the details. Like, this took me probably about 7 hours total to build. The blocks used are a lot of the colored concretes, a lot of colored terracotta, nether quartz bricks, prismarine stairs, and lots of different woods, as well as glass and scaffolding, of course. Can't forget about our support beams, which don't look the greatest. The scoreboard was probably one of the easier things to build, since it's just build a giant scoreboard on a black surface with the blue team and the orange team. But my sword does not look the greatest. If I could change one thing, I'd probably find a better sword for a pixel art sword. And then like the track. I really like how my track turned out, especially this inside lane. It's like I think the dimensions are 35 blocks by 70 blocks. So it's basically a 70-meter track because every block here is 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter. And then the thing I realized right after filming and doing a little bit more preliminary, well, post research, one of the characters that I talk as, Mozzie, the Australian, mentions that Capitao said if Mozzie's on my team, he's gonna have an accident. When in reality, Vigil, one of the Korean operators who never reveals his face, was the one who said that. And he hides from drones. And I thought that was a bit interesting, that I just assumed it was Capitao since I never knew who the light blue guy was, until I realized his hat said 707, which is the 707 SMB, which is the Korean group, and it was not a female, so it cannot be Dokkaebi. Yeah, and then is a couple things of, I think that's polished blackstone. Yeah, polished blackstone is what these are to help make the door. There's iron bars as little window lights, and that's it. If I had to pick one of the favorite characters to play as for me in that thing, 100% it would have to be Monty. I had a lot of fun playing as Monty. He is French, and I got to speak French, and I got to call my little cousin a little bit of an idiot in French, which if I said that in English she would have cried, because she does, but since she doesn't understand French, it's alright. And yes, this is why I asked Mr. I who your favorite Star Wars character is from the prequels, because I have an Obi-Wan skin, and I have the high ground. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this. Is my build. I'd also probably, switch the orange and blue side. Benches. There's nothing in these barrels. It's just baseline storage. Everyone's storage is to their right. So like this would be, for example, Monty, Monty, and then IQ, Gridlock, Buck, Thermite, and Blackbeard. And then over here there would be more, because so you got like Doc, Rook, Frost, Valk, Pulse, and Warden. The costume design was actually really fun to do. I spent hours and hours looking through the Rainbow Six character files, and then going through my closet and my cousin's closet to make sure we had everything we needed. The last and most difficult part of the recording process was squeezing it all into one day, since we recorded it the 23rd and we were going into lockdown we were supposed to be going into lockdown the 24th. But then they changed it to locking us down a day later, which gave us an extra day of filming, which I really liked having, but we didn't need it because we got it done. And then the editing process, it took me a bit because that was a 23-minute video as is, and I was tired of editing it at the end. And then the upload process, oh my, 23-minute video took 14 hours to upload to YouTube. It's gonna be this was definitely the most effort I've put into one of my drama projects this year. I'm just giving you some different angles on the build. Like, one of my favorite angles, I don't know why I put this cutout here. Oh yeah, I was gonna build something over here, but my friend who said they'd build it for me never came back to the server, so this is a decent view of like the stairs and the yellow. Yeah, these are both yellow, by the way. Just the difference between the terracotta and the concrete is so obvious. And then the lights that you see around are sea lanterns. That's all that I really focused on in this build. Like, my intention was to have this entire thing built, the entire stadium built, and then if I had time before I finished, if I didn't finish it today, I would have, actually built the interior of the map, which was really cool because it was a mix of two of the least popular maps at the time. Hereford Base, which was a British map, and Oregon, which was a house out in Oregon. This gives you a nice little overview of like the track and the random bat that's over there because of how dark that build is. I just want to say thank you for your work.